Hi there and welcome to episode 9 of our weekly Game of Thrones YouTube show, The Last Night's Watch. Now this week we'll be discussing all things The Watchers on the Wall, which is Game of Thrones Season 4's massive penultimate episode. We'll be joined by celebrity guests Rose Leslie, who plays Ygritte, Iain Glen, who plays Ser Jorah, and the Orange is the New Black Season 2 cast as well. Not only that, but we've got a massive competition where we're giving away some very shiny Game of Thrones dragon eggs. So this week I'm joined by Sam Ashurst.
Hello.
And Rick Jordan. And yeah, so I suppose the first thing is this is Game of Thrones' big, epic, penultimate episode. We know they have a tradition of being quite shocking. Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, I'd say so. I wouldn't say it was shocking, really. I don't know, Rich, what did you think?
It didn't have quite the shocks of last week, but for me, I loved it. I thought it was brilliant. And for me, you know, we always talk about sort of TV, you know, getting up there with films and sort of rivaling films for storylines and characters and stuff. But for me, this was the first sort of episode, not just of this show, that I've seen where I thought, wow, a TV show can actually compete on a set piece level, you know, in terms of, I know we had Blackwater and stuff and that was amazing, but this with the giants and the CG was really like spot on. And I thought, you know, considering it's showing as summer season is coming up and all the blockbusters are coming out, it wouldn't have looked out of place on the big screen, you know, it was, you know.
I was going to say, I mean, this is obviously Neil Marshall again, who directed The Descent movies and that kind of stuff, and also obviously Blackwater from season 2.
Yeah.
And you said about being a big set piece. Did you feel as though it held up as like the big moment for the series?
Yeah, it's a funny one because this series has been kind of different to previous seasons in that there have been so many sort of high points, so many sort of big shock moments. I completely agree with the cinematic thing. There was one shot in particular, it was like a sort of big panning shot
the 360
of everyone doing stuff. Yeah, exactly. It was very very comic book and very Avengers actually.
I thought that when I was watching it.
Yeah, so which is sort of really impressive. But yeah, I don't think I really enjoyed it. I think personally I prefer Blackwater if we're going to sort of compare the two. But then Blackwater was written by George, so it's always going to be the best. But
why do you think Blackwater edged it? Was it because, I mean,
just
it had
more
that
character
money shot?
stuff, more character stuff, like the money shot. Yeah, sure. I
think it's sort of as well.
So much character stuff in Blackwater,
and also like it sort of benefited from having Tyrion and Cersei and Joffrey and
the Hound.
You know, exactly.
Like, there were big moments for all of those characters.
Yeah, I think, but I think that's sort of, you know, a character thing because the characters up north, bar like, you know, the main sort of three, I don't think are as engaging as Tyrion and Cersei and all that sort of politics that were going on, you know. So yeah, I would agree that Blackwater probably edged it.
Yeah. It's a really interesting point though, because I was reading something online this morning and basically they were saying, to be brutally honest, nobody really cares as much about the people up the wall as compared to everything else going on in Westeros. And even though this battle's been coming for quite a while, maybe that's why you felt it was lacking. But I still felt there was character stuff. Like obviously you had kind of the Sam manning up stuff with Ginny, finally, actually kind of.
I actually don't necessarily agree with that because I do care about, like, I love Jon Snow. I love reading Jon Snow. I love him on the show. And I love Ygritte. I think Ygritte's the only woman I've ever loved. And we'll get onto that.
In real life.
In real life, on television, whatever. I love her so much. And we'll get onto that in a bit. But I do care about those characters. I love Sam as well. I know Gav hates Sam, but I really like Sam. And like, yeah, even the sort of secondary characters. So yeah, I don't agree with that. I do think they're engaging.
I think people are still interested in them, but compared to your Cerseis and your Daenerys and all that kind of stuff,
there's not as much complexity. You're right.
Because they're just like soldiers in the
wild.
And
I think
exactly,
sort of just like, you know, the people in King's Landing, there is a sort of tendency to forget about them because they're up there and you know, and they don't seem to get as much screen time and stuff. But you know, it was nice. I've got to say, it was nice to see a whole episode of, you know, after the last couple of weeks where there's been so much going on in various places. It was quite nice to have like that one sort of, you know, really kind of focused in.
It was wonderful
episode.
actually.
Yeah, and I actually felt like this was, you know, as much as Jon Snow, you know, had hero shots and all that. For me, this was Sam's episode. Like he really felt like he came into his own. I thought John Bradley did a fantastic job. I thought he was brilliant, and the one-liners and the humour and the emotional bits and then the action bits as well. I thought he was great. I thought
it's really interesting though, because
agree.
In the books, hey, I did it first. Kind of,
back off.
Ginny and Sam aren't at the wall, are they? They're not in that kind of portion of the wall. They don't have that.
Yeah.
They're not in the midst of it as much.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. So it's interesting that they kind of upped his role a little bit, and he became a little bit more of a leader in a way. But I do kind of find it hilarious how, like, the one accidental kill that he does, that wildling has killed like hundreds of people to get to that point, and yet he just walks towards Sam, who's got a crossbow. He's like,
I don't know how accidental it was. It wasn't like he fell over and his crossbow went off. He loaded it and shot it at the last minute.
He can barely load a crossbow.
I don't know. I think he's gotten better at that kind of stuff. But
You're saying Sam's badass.
But yeah, talking about the book stuff, it's sort of interesting from that perspective as well, because in a way, like, they've condensed it a lot, but then they're going to have to go back there because, and I won't spoil it, but the battle has a very different ending, and I guess maybe they changed it because they thought it'd be too similar to Blackwater. But
again, we won't spoil it, but it's been a while since I read the book, so I don't remember it being that different. Is it radically different?
Yeah, because someone comes to someone join. I'm trying to.
Okay, we'll pass over it.
Yeah, without spoiling it, a character arrives and helps, and that character's not there, and it would have made so much sense to bring that character in.
To Daenerys on a dragons.
But yeah, so that's quite different, and I'll be interested to see how they follow up next season. But I'm pretty sure that's the last we're going to see of those guys now, of the Night's Watch. That's Jon Snow's cliffhanger for next season, and
I think we'll go into some of the character bits in a minute, but regarding the action, I think there are a couple of really great moments in this that again weren't in the books. So the scythe, which came out of nowhere, that was pretty amazing.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah. Just seeing people go explode. What else was there? Oh yeah, Ghost as well. Obviously in the books, Ghost isn't at the wall at that point, so it was really nice of them to acknowledge that and be like, go kill.
Yeah.
And he just ran and went, no.
Yeah, and there was cool book stuff as well. Like, it was really gratifying to see the giants and the mammoths, which is our what the fuck moment, is it?
Yeah, I was going to say that's got to be. I mean, like the moment I got such a grin on my face, you know, and the camera just came out and they're just kind of walking along.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah, and that led to a giant with a bow and arrow.
That was amazing.
Yeah,
that was so cool.
It was so cool. But for me, like, you know, as well as those big cool moments like the scythe and stuff, like you were saying, like the bit where Sam was sort of loading the crossbow, that I was really tense. You know, the way he sort of was walking towards him and he was, you know, struggling to get it in, sort of thing. It was really, really tense. There was a couple of moments like that for me, and I thought, you know, Neil Marshall did a really, really good job. I mean, you know, I thought, you know, Neil Marshall's early films I thought were great, but his last few I haven't been so into. But I think, you know, on the basis of Blackwater and this, maybe it's time he has another go at an actual movie, because that was. The way it was directed was just brilliant.
I mean, he did Centurion, which is more or less the Knights. Like, it's that similar feel and stuff, but this just feels heavier. And whether it's because of the condensed runtime, but it's the pacing of this episode was great, because what is essentially a massive fight scene, you have all those small moments where you have kind of the one-on-ones and then it cuts back, and it totally worked. Yeah,
and I think also you're so invested in the characters as well, you know. And it's stuff, like you said, that's been building up for so many, you know, a couple of series now. So it felt like sort of a release almost, you know, to finally sort of see it all kick off.
I suppose one of the biggest payoffs was Ygritte and John. Not going to lie, teared up a little bit.
Yeah.
Weren't full on tears, but my eyes were wet. Are you going to be all right?
Well, we'll see. But obviously I knew it was coming because I've read the books. That's not a huge change. It's pretty much exactly the same. Though there is one change, which I called quite early on.
Yeah.
I knew that it was going to be the little kid who's not in the book.
Right.
I think his name's Ollie.
Yeah, Ollie, that's it. And yeah, it's weird. They set up like a mini arc for him. So Ygritte killed his dad.
Yeah, yeah.
And then he arrived at Castle Black and said he was the best archer in town.
Yeah.
And so I rolled over to Matt Risley and said, yeah, he's going to be the one that kills Ygritte.
Yeah.
It just makes the most sense. and sure enough. But anyway, enough boasting about my ability to read narrative.
I loved how little was, I mean, because fundamentally there isn't a lot for them to talk through anyway. Do you know what I mean? They're in such kind of a weird situation. It's not like they would go and have a discussion for half an hour and be like, oh, we're in love, we're going to make it work. There was only one way that was going to end. And I loved the kind of the silence and the quiet moment of her hesitating and him just looking at her and kind of choking a little bit.
Exactly.
And it was just,
This is going to sound quite weird as well, but it was actually quite nice to have like a nice death scene. I know, like, you never have a nice death scene, but like, you know, the last few deaths have been so horribly sort of sudden and brutal and graphic that it was, you know, quite nice to, that she didn't have her eyes gouged out or anything like that, or her head exploded, or, you know, it was...
And can we just give a shout out to Rose Leslie?
Yes.
Like, it's her last episode.
Yeah,
and
she was brilliant.
She is an amazing actress. Like, when you consider what she's like in real life, and we're about to see a clip of that in a second, but she's just completely different. She transforms herself. I'm not in love with Rose Leslie, but I am in love with the grit. So, yeah, anyway.
I think that is the perfect kind of segue to our first little celebrity segment of the week.
Exactly.
So we spoke to Rose Leslie on the carpet for Game of Thrones, and Sam had a bit of a moment, didn't you?
Not really. But I did ask her about her most famous catchphrase. How does it feel to have one of the sort of most popular catchphrases on the show?
It feels wonderful. It feels wonderful. It really, really does. I don't get sick of saying it as of yet, touch wood. But no, I love being a part of it. It's a wonderful thing.
Would you mind doing one for us?
Oh, in the Northern.
That'd be amazing.
In the Northern, okay. You know nothing, Jon Snow.
And obviously, we knew that this may well be Rose Leslie's final episode. So I asked her if she had any sort of messages for fans of Ygritte, what sort of message that character can bring to the fans, and this is what she said.
I would say to them to carry on being a fighter and a warrior, and to not give in to stronger powers that be. The thing that I love about Ygritte is just how loyal she is, and I feel that is, you know, that may be to her detriment or not, but it would be to stay true to your beliefs and to be loyal to who you love.
Now this is a bit of a weird tangent, but considering kind of romance in the Game of Thrones world, that kind of relationship is probably the best segue we're going to have into our next Game of Thrones red carpet interview of the week, which is Iain Glen, who spoke to us and told us what he would want to see in a Game of Thrones movie.
It would be a very prolonged lovemaking scene with the Khaleesi and Daenerys. It would be tender, and we would just stay in bed for a week. We would be like Lennon and Yoko Ono. We wouldn't get out of bed. She would discover that, in fact, deep down, she really, really fancied me, as I would, you know, it would be during the love-making process that she would come to that realisation.
So obviously, last episode we saw him kind of being banished and wandering away from Daenerys, so do you think that's kind of romantic?
Do you think maybe she saw that answer?
She was like, get
go.
out, go away. Moving swiftly on, we have, so what else have we got to talk about this week? Obviously you had all the stuff with Alistair.
Yeah, that was interesting. One of the great things about Game of Thrones is characters that you previously hated and despised, such as Jaime Lannister, can turn, and the sort of little insight we got to his character that he's kind of a dick because he thinks that's how leaders should be was kind of interesting, and I wasn't expecting to. I was kind of expecting to really look forward to his death and like for it to be really horrible and tortured and stuff, but actually I was, you know, go on Sir Alistair, which is quite a turnaround.
Yeah.
That was as close as to an apology as he's ever going to give.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah.
I think that's the thing. He sort of admitted he was wrong, but didn't admit he was wrong.
Exactly.
Sort of thing. It was a nice little scene, that actually. It was nice, and it sort of really felt like he was passing the torch to Jon Snow as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I think kind of other supporting characters, you had Pip, bless him, who kind of got an arrow through the neck, and then Glen, who was downstairs in the tunnel.
Oh my God, can we talk about
moment.
that scene? I loved that. It's one of my favourite ever Game of Thrones moments. I found it really, really powerful. You said you teared up at the Ygritte moment. Yeah. I actually teared up at that moment. If you take that giant to be a metaphor for anything that's like bring you down, like depression, whatever it is, it's really powerful, them facing it and you know, saying the words. I loved it so much.
It's like that guy who just wanted to run.
Yeah.
That would have been me.
Yeah.
Fuck this, I'm going.
But no, it's brilliant. And then seeing the aftermath and sort of how messed up the giant was and stuff, it was really cool.
Yeah.
And then kind of where we go from here, obviously you have that ending with Jon Snow basically going, I'm going to go off on a hunt for Mance Raider.
Yeah.
Raider.
Yeah.
And obviously that's not going to be resolved this season, is it? That's done now.
Yeah, that will be the last we see of Jon.
Yeah. I thought it was interesting that, I might be wrong here, but it seemed to me to be the first fade to white that we've seen at the end of the episode. Yeah. I didn't quite know what that symbolised, but I thought it was sort of significant at the time, you know, I don't know why, but it just sort of struck me as being quite different to how it normally just cuts to black and, you know.
Well, he was walking, white walkers.
Maybe.
Oh my God.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that's just, maybe that's just Neil Marshall showing up.
Yeah, maybe it was just that it was sort of a hopeful ending for once, you know, like kind of.
That's true. Yeah, nice.
But
yeah.
So that's kind of a discussion for this week. We had some very special celebrity guests. We spoke to the Orange is the New Black cast, who were promoting season 2, and we asked them whether they watch Game of Thrones and what they think of the show.
Oh God, I've only seen the first season.
Boo.
Sorry.
My wife and I are obsessed, but we're only on episode 4 this year. I think they're on 8 now. We went and had a kid. He's kind of ruined almost everything in our life. So we're a little bit behind, but yeah, we love the show.
I'm a fan, but I do not watch the show, unfortunately.
I'm a huge fan of the show.
People, they get so much love, that show, and like, I know I need to watch it. I know that I have
Peter
to watch
Dinklage
the show,
is amazing.
He's
haven't watched
incredible.
it yet. Big fan.
I gotta watch it, but I hear great things about it.
We were going to go on to talk about some amazing competition that we had, but Sam wanted to interject to make a very important point.
Yes.
The owl walk.
Yeah, 2 words, owl walk. How awesome was that? Like, again, not in the books. It's a bloody owl walk. Right, comment if you like the owl walk, because I know you're out there. Right, you go on. Yeah, okay. I'm done.
Okay.
Fine.
So this week we have a very special prize given to us from our friends at HBO Shop. We are giving away 3 Daenerys dragon eggs, which have a pretty hefty retail value on the streets. So it's a competition, they're up for grabs. So to enter, we want you to, first of all, subscribe to the channel, like the video, and then tweet us at Total Film using the hashtag LastNightsWatch and tell us the name of Jon Snow's direwolf, who was in this episode and who we've referenced, so just rewind the video and you can see if you don't already. So yeah, and we will reveal next week the winners of the dragon eggs and then send them out to you.
Yay.
Yay. So thank you very much for joining me this week. Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Rich. Feel free to comment in the comment section below. Tell us whether you love the episode, hate the episode, just want to talk about owls. And yeah, feel free to come back next week. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thanks.